Welcome to our collection conversations, where we discuss artworks that have newly entered the Guggenheim's collection. The theme of this conversation is mutual care, exploring the role that art can play in bringing people together.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Jemison. Today we're going to talk about In Succession.
Hi, Stephanie. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
We are talking today about your video In Succession, which is in the Guggenheim collection. This is an 18-minute long black and white video that you made in 2019. You work in many different mediums.
I do.
Painting, sculpture, performance, sound. What is it about your approach that brings together all of these different mediums?
So my training is actually originally not in art. I wanted to study big ideas. Soon I realized that the kinds of big ideas that I was interested in span disciplines. I studied comparative literature in college, and a lot of my research was about music, and I was also very involved in Black study. So I was interested in understanding the relationship between the past and the present. Often the answers we seek in the archive aren't available in the archive, but we can animate them today.
Some of the first works that I saw by you, like the video Escaped Lunatic, were directly in dialogue with early film.
I'm struck by the central questions around liveness and stillness. I'm fascinated by not only early film, but vaudeville, circus, all of the disciplines and genres and media that shaped our understanding of how bodies communicate, how they perform, which from my perspective opens up very different political implications as well.
Yeah.
My work exists within a very clear network of obligations, responsibilities to the past, responsibilities to the present, responsibilities to the future.
So many of the themes that you've already touched on apply to the In Succession video. I'd be curious what entry point you like to take when you're talking about it.
The seed for In Succession is my fascination with a very particular phenomenon, spontaneously formed human pyramids that attempted to solve a problem. You have the relationship between one body and another, a group of beings who come together to scaffold one another in order to accomplish something that no single person could do on their own. And this human scaffold is a way to visually and physically and formally understand and think through the question of how it feels to be in service. The way that a body can approach the experience or the form of architecture and what it means for a body to be like a truss. I do a lot of crawling the historical newspapers, hundreds of periodicals published by Black publishers for Black audiences in the early 20th century. One of the funniest ones took place at the Middlesex County Jail. A group of men, incarcerated men, formed a pyramid, cut a hole in the ceiling, and escaped. When the jailer opens the door, he finds only the one, maybe one who was at the bottom, is how I always imagine it.
What's fascinating about your research into that is that human pyramids are about individual ability and physicality, but also about mutual support, holding other people up to achieve a collective end. Right.
It's actually something that's rare, but it's very addictive.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to allow someone else to support you.
So could you talk about the process of making the film and who you worked with and how these feelings unfolded?
I might begin with conversation, with rehearsals. There might be visual research. There might be physical or movement research. The work began with the work that we did in the studio, me and the actors together. I invited them to move as in the most intuitive ways for their bodies, and they witnessed and observed one another. I had assembled a kind of archive of images of human pyramids, and the guys and I reviewed them together, and they could look at the image and point to the pressure points. And together we identified a series of pyramid images that we wanted to reconstruct. And we began to practice. And then we actually began to work outside.
In the final video, it's almost silent, but you can hear some ambient sounds. It's this incredibly intimate, seemingly private gestures and moment that's being recorded, yet you get this sense that it's in public also. Both the individual collective tension, but also the private public kind of tension.
We developed a choreography, and the choreography moved really seamlessly from one pyramid to the next. And we began to perform that choreography again and again in different places. Parks, abandoned lots, worked in cul-de-sacs, on the street.
Another very unique thing about the final work is that it's shot in very close up. So you never see the pyramid in full.
The process is a part of the work, but then, of course, the work itself needs to do what the work needs to do. It was really important that that complicated relationship to gravity, that kind of confusing and open-ended relationship between one body and the next, all of that I knew I wanted the final work to capture. I take a very sculptural approach to editing, and it was just a matter of experimenting until I got there.
Issues of mass, gravity, balance, these very iconic formal attributes to like classic modernist sculpture and I guess pre-modernist sculpture. Formal qualities that traditionally have been applied to abstraction.
It became clear that the context of risk and also of mutual support was not in any way metaphorical for these performers, but was very, very real. There's no right way or wrong way to experience this work. Some may be reminded of maybe games they've played or things they've done in the past. Some may be really interested in formal aspects of the work. They might try to figure out where it was filmed or what's happening in the relationship between the foreground and the background. Some may try to understand what's happening or try to reconstruct it.
I'm happy to be able to unpack the film with you this way. I really love this piece so much. And I'm so happy that we have it
Thank
here
you.
at the museum.
Thank you.
And look forward to showing it again.
Thank you.